Hey guys, Retro Dude here. Thanks for visiting my channel again, where we take a look at all things retro and cool. Though it might not always be retro, it is always cool. So lately, I've been playing a game called Dying Light 2.
Welcome to paradise.
The reason why I got so excited about this game was because Dying Light 1, in my opinion, was the best zombie game I've ever played. Now, if you guys know me, you guys know that I'm a huge fan of Resident Evil. So why do I think this offshoot game is better than Resident Evils or Silent Hills in terms of like the horror genre? This game isn't per se a horror game. However, it does very well at balancing everything out. So let me explain. Obviously, it had zombies, but it had mutated zombies as well. So they had other types of zombies that weren't just your slow walkers. Then you had the fast walkers who were just barely turned, or you had the exploders. And then you have what the game calls the volatiles. These are like bodybuilder type zombies that are really fast, really sturdy, and they can hit really hard. These only came out at night, so during the day they would go out and hide. This is where the game made one of the best decisions in gameplay that I've seen in a long time. The day and night cycle depends on your gameplay. So if you wanted to play it safe, obviously you would go out at night. But at night, it added a whole new element of dread when you went out, because if you encountered one of these guys, a chase would ensue and you would have to run from them. And that just added that sense of like, oh my god, like the horror aspect of it. And it was scary as hell to run out at night. And well, yeah, like a game. Anyways, they had missions that you could only play at night. So you would have these crazy massive zombies running after you, and it was a ton of fun to play. Now, going back to the gameplay mechanics of it, you had this parkour style gameplay that was added to it. So yeah, I mean, you have a whole city that's infected, and you have a guy who's into parkour, I suppose, or free running. So you could jump up to the roofs, and this just made so much sense because yeah, if you could do that, you could avoid so many of the zombies by being up on the rooftops. And this was also implemented very well on the game. So if you've never played Dying Light 1, I recommend it. You could probably get the enhanced version, I think it's called, for like 15 bucks. It has the whole DLC, which is a whole game unto itself. I would definitely recommend you checking it out before playing this game, Dying Light 2. Now, Dying Light 2, what can I say about it? It takes place a few years after its predecessor. So the virus had been eradicated, but some government agency decided to continue on with the studies, and it was unleashed again on a whole different city. This is where our player comes in, and his main goal is to look for his sister, who he lost track of years back. So initially when this game was pitched, it was pitched like your decision matters. It changes the world around you. So the way they implemented that is you have different factions. So you have the what they call the peacekeepers, and you have what they call the survivors. So basically you align yourself to with either one of those two. And as the game progresses, you take control of some landmarks and you either give it to the peacekeepers or the survivors. And as they expand, they add new elements of survival to your exploration. So the peacekeepers are more like military based. So they make car bombs, they make traps for the zombies. And the survivors, they add more parkour style elements to their gameplay, so you're able to like just free run a little bit easier through the map. Like with most sandbox games, story is meh at best. It's not really the greatest story to be told on a zombie game. But you don't play this game for the story, you play it for the gameplay. And as far as gameplay goes, it continues on the tradition of the free run parkour style gameplay where you just run through the roofs to avoid the zombies. It did keep the day and night cycle, so those dread scenes when you're being chased by the volatiles is still there. It's still a ton of fun. I would probably say it's a little bit more fun in Dying Light 2 than it was in Dying Light 1 because you could survive a little bit more. If you die, you just respawn back, so nothing lost. But the sense of dread is still there. I caught myself playing the game and just being like so tense that my hands were sweating. It takes more of a role on enhancing the gameplay. It makes those tedious tasks like grab here, like go here, grab this, go pick up a letter or something like that, more palatable. Yeah, like I said, the story isn't that great. And being a sandbox game, there's always menial tasks to do. Like you become a mailman and you have to deliver mail to clients. That just depends on how you want to play it. If you want to level up and make the game a little bit easier, you could do it during the day. I do it at night, so there's always that sense of dread when you're going in and out and jumping through hoops. It just becomes a little bit more fun to play and a little bit more difficult, I would say, to get to your from point A to point B. Another really cool aspect that this one has is, well, again, you're like a free runner, so they implemented the climbing system on it. So basically, being in a city, you can climb wherever you want to climb, and when you get to a certain height, like you're able to look down. And for people like me, that I'm aerophobic, so just looking down when it gets high enough, I just start shaking. Like my hands start sweating. That sense that it has when you're that high up, that's unbelievable because I know it's a video game and I know like if I'm gonna fall, nothing is gonna happen. And there's mechanics that you can even implement that'll save you from certain falls, for certain death. So just the fact that you're able to see down and it looks so tiny when you're so high up, that sense is really awesome. And the part one had it, and part two kept it for the most part. I would probably say that it's not it's not as bad as it was on part one, but it's still there. And I enjoyed the hell out of those climbing sequences. As far as combat goes, it's not something to write home about. I mean, just slash. Uh, what's cool about it is that you have a crafting system. So all of the weapons that you get, that you find, for the most part, you can modify, adding elements to it like electricity, fire, toxic, bleed. Again, adding a certain element of gameplay that's really fun to tinker around with. It does retain the RPG style of it, so you do level up. The level up system on this game is actually pretty clever. It implemented what they call acquiring inhibitors. So what this is you're infected, and the inhibitors help you fight the infection. So the more you find, the longer you can stay out at night. So like an infected, if you're out in the dark too long, you turn. So the way that you do it is when you're going out at night, you always have to be close to UV lamps, which fight off the infection. So this adds another element to the game where you can't just willy-nilly go out exploring at night. No, you have to stay close to UV light sources. So story-wise, not really much to talk about, but the gameplay is solid. It's right on. They hit the nail on the head on this one. It's super fun to play. I mean, the gameplay is the strong suit of this game. Graphics-wise, it did get an improvement over the first one. On the first one, you could tell that they would recycle the zombies a lot. And they do on this one as well, but it has more variance and a lot more detailed. Even on the PS4, which isn't this generation's console, the zombies still look very detailed. However, you do notice a drop in frame rates. If you actually just go for the main story, you probably got like 30 hours into it. Music wise, the game isn't great, But being a zombie game, the sense of dread is there. So there's sequences that begin when you're doing, like, for example, the free running. Once you get to a certain speed, the game just starts like playing this music as like you're hurrying up or to hurry you up, essentially elevating the sense of you going faster. Or when you're fighting certain amount of zombies, again the music starts playing that sense of dread. It's like, oh, like you gotta watch out. So it implemented that very well, but it definitely did add something to the gameplay as I was playing it. So not the greatest soundtrack that I would probably have liked, but definitely a good soundtrack nonetheless. Overall, I would probably rate the game a 7 out of 10 if I'm really being impartial. However, I do really enjoy the gameplay aspect of it. So in my personal opinion, it's probably more like an 8 out of 10. I know, not that big of a difference, but it is an enjoyable game nonetheless. Well, that's it for my review of Dying Light 2. What do you guys think? Did you guys enjoy it? Are you as much of a fan of the parkour style, the free running, as I am? If you think I'm way off base, leave it in the comment section below. I'm interested in what you guys have to say. If you like this and you want me to post more reviews of the newer style video games, go ahead again and leave it in the comment section below. Again, don't forget to subscribe, hit me with a thumbs up, and as always, stay retro.
No!